Welcome, Solarah here. I hope you guys are doing well today. I apologize for a little bit of a pause on this particular channel. As some of you know, I've been going through some things, but beyond that, I've been trying to figure out how to best bring value to this particular space, which I kind of, resurrected to share pieces from my Substack, which I'll continue to do, but I have a few things that I'm going to be introducing here to keep this account more active and to give you more content. So please stay tuned for that in the month of August. This is my first time recording here on Daily Alchemy with Solarah since I put out that message on my community board last Tuesday. And I really just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you for all the ways you've shown your support in the past couple of days. It really shifted me into a higher mindset and faith about what is coming ahead, not only for myself, but for all of us, in the way that so many of you just showed up and rallied around me. And as I've said on my other channels, it wasn't even just the monetary support, because some of you did step in and donate, and I so appreciate that. But so many of you also just sent me encouragement, or you offered to be a listening ear. I had clients who, organized video calls to check in on me, like just very kind, thoughtful things that helped me in a really difficult time to rise up out of what was designed to take me under. And I'm so grateful for every single way. Those of you who sent out intentions in prayer, I just appreciate it all. I felt it. I felt very held, and I felt very supported by the communities I've been building here. And that's the first time I've ever really had that in my life. I've had random support here and there from like literal angels. One of you, I think you listen over here, and I'll never forget what you did for me and my children a few years ago. But I've never had a group of beings rally around and help me the way you guys did. And it helped me to see how far we've all come as a collective, and how far I've come in the sense that I'm in so much of a higher alignment with beings now who actually value me because of the work that I've done on myself and that I'm putting out in the world. So I just want to say thank you sincerely. I want to share with you a sunrise salutation that I wrote last week on my Substack, but the message is very pertinent and potent for this Leo season, and it's one of the my favorite pieces I've written of recent times. So this is the one I'm going to do today. This is Sunrise Salutation number 69. And just so you know, these are my pieces that I write daily on Substack. I write a sunrise salutation message daily on Substack. Sometimes they're very long, like the one I'm about to share with you, and sometimes they're more brief. But every day I dive into the messages, the downloads, the reflections, the guidance I'm receiving for the collective, the experiences I'm going through that kind of reflect the collective energy. I dive in every single day. So if you're interested in joining me over on Substack, all that information will be in the description box below. And I presently have 33% discounts on monthly subscriptions, and that price stays locked in for the next year, and 33% discounts off annual subscriptions, and that price stays locked in for good. So here we go. Sunrise Salutation number 69. These last battles of the old world will be won by the pure of heart. Every year, as the sun makes its way through the sign of Cancer, we are gifted the opportunity to go on a voyage of emotional transformation. Those who accept the challenge of the invitation will arrive with the sun in Leo more like who they always were, before this world and its pain structures forced them to forget. The voyage back to the heart is not for the insipid and not for the bypasser. It is not for those who are so caught up in light work that they fail to recognize the foundations of all things must come from the shadows. People think that Scorpio is the water sign that unveils the shadow side, but it is Cancer that gives us the initial invitation, and then Scorpio takes over, becoming the ever diligent host that takes us ever deeper and higher. The inner workings of our emotions, what has made us who we are, and what is the basis for how we view, connect, and create in our lives, all comes up for us to wrestle with, explore, and come to peace with in Cancer season. All true voyages into the heart require that we face our heartbreak, dive into the deepest part of these stories, and come back to the shore with the wisdom hard won by only those who dare to undertake this journey. Many people in the conscious and spiritual community don't like to take these trips, or they won't properly explore certain topics with their audience out of fear of how they will be received, judged, or ultimately rejected. These are all Cancerian themes, by the way, the fears that arise concerning how or whether we will be accepted or rejected. My heavy Cancer and Scorpio energy means I am here to expose the shadows and underbelly of the human consciousness. I am here to shamelessly go into places that most have been told to avoid out of fear of how they might be perceived. I am here to feel the sting of it all too and still proceed. It is only by scraping the bottom of the seafloor that we get to truly come back up and properly taste the glory of the sun. And my sun in Leo opens me to be a guide back to the integrity of our true hearts. Every year without fail, I return from this personal voyage more in touch with the parts of myself that I had left behind, forgotten, or fled from each time I exited my body and abandoned myself to cope with the many pains and stings of a childhood where I was a scapegoat everywhere I went. Every year I allow myself the proper voyage into my victimhood stories because this is the only true way I know to become victorious over those pains that were meant to destroy me. There is no arriving into the power of being true victors without processing and properly feeling our way through all that has tried to victimize us. Each time we do so effectively, more chains fall off and hidden trespassers are exposed. Once we make peace and recover what was lost, our victimhood stories become the light and medicine we need to either go deeper still for more liberation from the pattern, or we graduate properly from the cycle without dragging old energies into the new cycle and unconsciously repeating that which will only grow our victimhood. So while we are not here to get stuck in our victimhood cycles, we do exactly that when we refuse to properly process and come to an authentic place of peace with our victimhood stories. We live in a world where we often like to play at being triumphant and victorious instead of taking the time to actually arrive there in truth by wading through the deep waters of our own disempowerment structures, stories, and supports. As humans, we can be so funny around other people's pain and stories when we refuse to take the moment to wade into our own. I have found that it is always the people who are hardest on themselves, most critical and judgmental of their own failings, and most obsessed with appearing to be responsible adults and healing fully into that position, who take offense to the vulnerability and neediness expressed and lived by others. You can see the aversion they have to their own inner child and how they reject, judge, or micromanage another's expression of neediness. I find that when I am the most critical and judgmental of my own processes, when I strive to be the picture of poise and stability that we've all been told is the basis upon which our adulthood is measured, I am less able to properly handle another person's inherent naked pain and right to fully express that need and messiness of being a human. In a world where productivity, titles, numbers, and age-related milestones are the markers used to quantify our value, we can become disdainful and disconnected from our own neediness and somewhat disgusted or put off by any neediness we see or detect in others, especially adults, but also children. The perfect example of this truth is how so many people will go out of their way to not come in contact with a person living on the streets. As a city dweller for the majority of my adult life, I have watched these exchanges with the homeless with curiosity. It is like people get afraid that they will catch another person's misfortune, that the raw nakedness of another's less attractive human experience will somehow take them on a voyage that they don't want to embark upon. It is easier to get distracted by their grown-up responsibilities than it is to take a moment to connect with the abject need of another and to plainly see the pain that is the result of a human heart having been broken and their development having been subsequently arrested as a result. This heartbreak and the dismissal of it has taken another human down a path that they are so sure could or would never be them. However, their judgment and dismissal of another's lived experience and expression of the pain internalized and accumulated is only a reflection of how they dismiss and reject themselves in their own pain and neediness. We are not weak because we struggle, suffer, or even complain and commiserate. We grow weak and indifferent to ourselves and others as we ignore, deny, repress, suppress, project, deflect, and displace instead of sitting in our weakness and dealing with the full spectrum and range of emotions that come up without judgment. We live in a world where we don't stand up enough for children who are being wounded and clock out altogether for those children once they become adults, shaming them for the ways they have yet to figure out how to pick up the pieces of childhood exploitation and abuse. And we wonder why the world remains dysfunctional and why more are struggling to do the basic things necessary for human survival. We break one another so easily, and the greatest destroyers of innocence never want to foot the bill for the damages. As I make my way back to the sun, having allowed for the complexities of the moon to help me take better inventory of my heart, I am seeing how complicated my relationship has always been to need. How at every moment that created my childhood foundations of bullying and abuse, my needs were blatantly overlooked, denied, mocked, shamed, and minimized. How every struggle in my adulthood has been a continuance of that story where I have found myself constantly having to prove myself worthy of having my basic human needs met and honored. And I haven't even begun to open the Pandora's box of what it means to move in this world as a Black woman, where too many people hold unconscious programming that means Black women are treated as if we're supposed to handle more than everyone else, like we are literally built to struggle. We're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be able to shoulder the things that most would buckle under the pressure of carrying. Black women in the West are some of society's greatest emotional scapegoats and transmuters of the ignored collective mother wound. But I won't even begin to dive into the depths of that yet, even though Cancer season brings this up more and more every year for us all to witness, deconstruct, understand, and wrestle with. Because all the ways we ignore, bypass, dismiss, ridicule, or judge another person's need or experience with their own pain and victimhood stories ultimately shows us the ways we are still harming, rejecting, shaming, diminishing, disrespecting, ignoring, and scapegoating our true selves. This Leo season, the battle will be won by those who are pure of heart. And contrary to the westernized, puritanical, and colonialist slant on this word, purity has little to do with cleanliness, perfection, and the appearance of being good, mature, or having it all together. Beings who exemplify purity of heart to the highest degree tend to be children, beings who are yet unencumbered by the judgments, avoidance strategies, and bypassing tactics that we learn as adults when we don't know how to deal with our own pain or the collective mirror showing us the brokenness of the world that lives in our own hearts too. Beings who exemplify purity of heart are real and radically honest with themselves about their flaws, shortcomings, judgments, and programmed prejudices, as well as about their beauty, power, gifts, and uniqueness. They own their victimhood and victor status with ease and the awareness that both are necessary for the voyage back into the wholeness of heart. These beings are the ones who lead us back to recovering our ability to be pure in heart again too, to recover those parts of ourselves lost as children every time our needs went unmet and we were made to feel that we didn't deserve to have those needs properly catered to. So, as we wrap up this deep dive into our emotional foundations, where are we with these stories of our deep need? Where are we shunning the chance to really heal our victimhood stories by the obsession with being triumphant or victorious? Where are we not properly breaking cycles because we refuse to go there and face the true genesis of it? Where are we still shaming ourselves in our neediness, casting it off as weakness, immaturity, or something we should already be over? If we're not over something, it's because there is still unprocessed pain, wars within our own emotional bodies that have lacked the sufficient attention or resources to be restored back into our true settings of peace. These wars are invisible and real. These war-torn locations house lifetimes of built-up pain that some of you are only contending with now, but you have likely been facing these wars all alone. These places are not to be further ignored. Your process to finding your way back to the harmony that another or others brazenly stole is not to be shamed, ridiculed, judged, timed, or dismissed. Your unique and intrinsic needs and requirements to find your way back to wholeness are valid, regardless of how long it is taking you to make sense of how the mess of broken pieces can be put back into a new order. As a mother, my maternal instincts kick into high gear when my children need me. As I come to peace with all the ways my needs have been shamed and dismissed on my journey through various forms of abuse and my lived experience as a Black woman on this planet, I am able to show up more authentically for my children in their need and neediness. I am now able to relate to them on a true heart level instead of trying to reason away the reality of their lived experience or compare their reactions to how I would respond. I am now able to better embrace all the many nuances that arise through how they internalize their own reality based upon their own unique makeup, personalities, and purposes, even when I am sharing the same experience as them, but feeling differently. Purity of heart is not perfection, but realness, openness, and acceptance to meet ourselves and others where they are without feeling the need to change or micromanage their experience and expression due to our own wounding or levels of discomfort. This world will be won over by the pure of heart. It is happening slowly, but it is happening nonetheless. All the masks, facades, personas, and distractions that have led to our own dehumanization and collective dysfunction are falling and failing. All the ways we've forgotten to be real human beings who live and are led by our hearts, we are remembering. We are picking up the pieces of our glory we wrongfully traded in for lies and re-emerging under the truth of a new day and a new sun. To you brave warriors who are not afraid to go deep with yourself and others, this new world will be your playground. These last battles of the old world will be won by the pure of heart. Leo season will be showing us this all the more, for as long as we fearlessly walked through the back doors that Cancer season opened up to help us heal the densities that once barred our way back into glory. Wishing you a truly heart-aligned day. For access to all of my articles and installments in full, please make sure to check me out on Substack at dailyalchemy.substack.com. For all of you who choose to become monthly or annual patrons, you will have continual access to these articles as they are published, as well as to the full archive of all my articles, decrees, as well as my works of nonfiction and poetry. Every month, my patrons also get the opportunity to connect with me in a group Q&A via video link. So if you feel that that would be helpful on your healing and ascension journey, please make sure to check me out on dailyalchemy.substack.com. Wishing you guys all a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day.